Hello, welcome to the first episode of Jim's Comic Cave. Let me first go through of what this what Jim's Comic Cave is. This is myself talking about comic books, trying to bring back the joy of collecting comic books for the sole reason of comic book collecting, in the fact of the enjoyment of reading the comic books, the enjoyment of collecting the different comic books, and going. It's here to bring back the enjoyment of collecting comic books mainly. What I'm going to be doing is taking some titles in the past that have been around for about 12 issues or more. I don't want to go too new on this because I don't want to ruin the storyline for people, and just talking to you guys and how I feel about the comic book. Alright, the first episode since Star Wars movie is coming out. Of course, we're going to do the new Marvel series of Star Wars and some of the subtitles that Star Wars has come out with. So, when I saw that Marvel was coming back out with Star Wars, I was a little bit leery about it because Star Wars is such an iconic title that you really have to do it well. And so I was a little leery, because everybody wants to do it. It's been done so many times. Dark Horse has done it. Marvel has done it in the past. The Dark Horse titles, the one that I really enjoyed with Dark Horse was the Dark Empire. That was done phenomenally. I thought they did a really good job with it. Well, I picked up issue 1 of Star Wars at the comic book store. I could not find it, obviously. I looked through my boxes. I didn't look through all of them, so that should be a note for you, the viewers, to organize your collection a little bit better than I do. I usually buy a comic book, read it, bag it, and board it, and then throw it in a box. I don't really keep track of titles or which issues I have, of what title I try to get. If I like the title, I try to get it every month and read it. And then I normally don't look at it again. So I looked for my first issue. I couldn't find it, so I went out to the local comic book store and bought the trade paperback. I believe it's issues 1 through 5. It might be 1 through 6. I'm not 100% sure. But I do have the originals somewhere in my nice collection. So I just want to give you a synoptics of how this title is written. Both the Star Wars title and the Darth Vader title, because you notice I have both of them up here, mainly a lot of Darth Vader more than the Star Wars. It is written in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. So when I refer to the first movie, I'm not talking about the movies that came out in the 90s. I'm talking about the movie that came out in the 70s. And what it is, it's like a behind the scenes of what happened in between that time period. How did Darth Vader figure out this, and how did the rebels end up over here, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. It's all of those missing clues, like when you're sitting in the first movie of Star Wars, and then you sat in the second movie of Empire Strikes Back. Like, how did they get there? Like, how did Darth Vader figure that out? Or how did the Empire figure that out? Or how did the rebels figure that out? Well, this is the key. This is the missing link. So when I evaluate the comic books, I evaluate them on the artwork, the writing style, and the collectability of the book itself. Because I do buy comic books for the money. I'd be lying if I didn't. Any collectors, and I tell you that. The only problem is I have a hard time selling them. So it's like my wife said, once I buy a comic book, it becomes worthless because I just don't sell them. But when I looked at this one, I was a little leery because Disney took it over, and I know that Disney sometimes changed a lot of the artists and a lot of the main titles, such as Spider-Man. And for me, it just wasn't fitting right. For other people, it probably did fit right. I'm a little bit older, so I like a little bit I like the '80s styles of art where you had Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, and all those greats back then. But I was really impressed with how John Cassaday and Jason Aaron was the writer of this. If you're not familiar with Jason Aaron, he came out with the hit title Scalped. We'll talk about Scalped on a later issue. Today we're going to be talking about Star Wars. Jason Aaron is the writer. John Cassaday is the artist, and they both fit really well together. When I read this book, it actually took me back to that time when I was sitting in the theater, and it gave me that same nostalgic feeling of watching the movie, but actually reading the comic book. It fit really well. I was very impressed with the way they've done it. But the title I want to spend most of my time with today is the Darth Vader title. I like the Star Wars title. It is great. I would recommend reading it. I think it's a great title. But I love the Darth Vader title. Again, this was done the same time period. It's the filling in error between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. So what happened was, as we all know, in A New Hope, the rebels destroyed the Death Star. And what you don't see behind the screens is that the Empire, or the Emperor, was actually upset with Darth Vader for allowing it to happen. Because he let Luke Skywalker go, and this is the guy that destroyed his Death Star. Well, this is the behind the scenes. This has how did Darth Vader meet Boba Fett? This tells you how. How did Darth Vader figure out that Luke Skywalker was his son? This tells you how. And then at the same time, he has the Emperor, who's setting his he was lenient on Darth Vader because he just didn't kill him. And everybody knows that the Emperor has no forgiveness for failure. Well, Darth Vader failed, and in here he gives him a second chance, but he tells him, if you fail, you're going to die. And it's quite interesting how he does it. So he's sending all of these Empire soldiers to shadowing Darth Vader, and Darth Vader eludes them at every corner by framing him, by killing him. I mean, he's really brilliant on how he does that. The first issue was great. It drew me in right away. But the one that sold me on the Darth Vader, that put it above the Star Wars title, was issue number 3. And if you notice, I have both covers here. This is the standard cover. Now, a lot of people will say that that it's a rare issue or that it's a low print run, but the standard issue, it's printed about 100,000 copies, so it's not really that low of a print run. Now this issue, the variant cover, this issue was printed 1 in 25, so there's about 4,000 copies. This is a little bit more rare. If you're going to buy it for the money, this is going to be the issue that retains its value. The thing about this issue that's so great is it has the character Dr. Aphra and her 2 psychotic robots. That's what I call them, psychotic robots. The one that looks like C-3PO, his name is 000, and the one that looks like R2-D2 with a little modification, his name is BT-1. Now, C-3PO, not C-3PO, I'm sorry, 000, in this first episode, or in issue number 3, this is where Dr. Aphra actually is searching for his brain. And let me explain Dr. Aphra first. Dr. Aphra is a intergalactic female Indiana Jones. I mean, she even has doctor in front of her name. I mean, you can definitely tell that they modeled this character after Indiana Jones. But what she does, instead of searching for gold artifacts and everything like that, she's searching for technical artifacts, like CPUs that were old, that were just phenomenal back in the time, and they're not being used anymore, and they're kept under lock and key because they're actually illegal. Or like these 2 robots who were designed by the same designer who designed the Death Star. I forgot his name, but I'm sure you can read it, and it has his name in there. So she's searching for that technology. So obviously he designed the Death Star, so these robots are killer robots. Like 000, his specialty is torture. He loves to torture. Not only does he have all of the languages for robots and the known languages in the Empire, but his main specialty and where he really gets his enjoyment is torture. And then you have BT-1, who looks like a astromech robot, but he's not. So he's like the ninja robots. He's got this like saying, "Oh yeah, I'm this astrotech robot. I'm here to diagnose your ship and tell you what's wrong with it." But in reality, he's there to kill you, and he's laced with laser guns, flamethrowers, bombs. I mean, the robot is just bad. He's just bad to the core. Like as soon as Dr. Aphra, with Darth Vader there present, turns BT-1 on, BT-1 wants to kill everybody, but 000 convinced him not to. So, I mean, he's just that bad. He actually is the reason of the creator of the Death Star. He killed him. So, I mean, he killed his own creator. So, I mean, yeah, it's great. That's probably. I mean, to me, this issue is definitely a buy. Now, how much will you spend on it? If you don't mind an ungraded copy, like I said, these were printed about 100,000, so they're not that rare. I don't care what anybody puts on eBay. It's not a low print run. Now, it was sold out. Believe me, 100,000 copies sold out. That's good. That means that there's more collectors out there. But you can still find it. I think on eBay you can get an ungraded copy in near mint for about $12 plus shipping. If you get a graded copy, you can probably find it for about $40 in 9.8, which it's advisable. Over time, over 10 years, it's definitely going to maintain its value, because once you read this, it's just, you're going to think, wow, this character is just awesome. Now, if you go get the 1 in 25, like I said, there's probably about 4,000 of them. If you get the graded copy in 9.8, the cheapest I've seen it right now is about 150. I had to get one because I love this. I have multiple issues of this one, and I have one copy of this one. I mean, because it's a higher price and I just don't have unlimited funds. But I would have been kicking myself 10 years down the road if I didn't get it, because I would have had to have it for my personal collection. So this is not, I probably will never sell this book, just like all my other books I won't sell. But it's definitely something that I want for my collection. Now the storyline itself, it's done by Glennon, and he's a very good writer. I wasn't familiar with his writing style until Darth Vader. Again, he brings back that spirit of Star Wars. He keeps Darth Vader as very cruel and very unforgiving, but then it shows also the hidden story that we're not aware of. Just to let you know, I'm still reading it. I picked up the latest issue, issue number 13. It's $3.99 cover price. I know comic books just seem to be going up and up for cover price. Maybe there's less readers out there and they need to charge more for the books. But in the storyline, it talks about how Darth Vader builds his empire, because he has to work behind the Emperor himself. He builds an army. It talks about how he eludes the Emperor from finding out what he's doing, and it also has him performing his own investigation on who Luke Skywalker is, who Princess Leia is, and so I mean, it's very, very interesting. I definitely recommend it as a as a title to buy and to read. So I'm heading to the end. I'm trying to keep these videos down to about 10 minutes. So definitely Star Wars and the Darth Vader series. Now I really didn't read Leia or Lando or Chewbacca or the other title. I know it starts with a K. I didn't really read those, so I really couldn't give an assessment on it. These really drew my eye at the store, and that's why I bought these titles. So I don't know about the other ones. I'm sure they're just as good as these and well done as Darth Vader and Star Wars. But I can tell you this, that I would recommend these two titles. So now we're at the end. Just to give you a heads up, the next episode we're going to do is going to be on the Preacher title. If you're unfamiliar with that, it's coming out with an AMC TV show. This is Preacher #1. This will be focused on for our next episode, and then also we're also going to have a pick. So I figure I'm going to do one of these videos every 2 weeks, and I'm going to have pick of the 2 weeks. It'll be at the end of the video, so it's going to be of new comic books coming out and what I found eye-appealing at the store, picked up and read. It's not going to, I don't have enough money to buy every single issue that's out there, read them all, and then give you guys, I wish I did. I mean, my collection would be completely huge. Maybe in the future I will. But thanks for viewing. Stay tuned for the pick of the week. I'll be following this within seconds afterwards. All right, and may the force be with you. Well, now we're at the portion of the show where it's called Jim's Pick of the Week. It's actually going to be pick of every 2 weeks because I feel like at first I'm going to probably come out with a new video once every 2 weeks. This portion of the show we're going to take some new comic books that just arrived at the comic book store within the last 2 weeks. And how I pick them is I go over there, I look at them, I pick up what I think is that draws my eye and that I think is going to be a good read. So this week we have Mad Max Road Fury #2, DK3 or Dark Knight 3. Then we have Carnage #2 and Injection #5. I have a couple books over here just because I wanted to reread them to make sure that I was giving everybody a fair shake. Mad Max Fury Road #1 and Carnage #1. These are the ones that when I went to the comic book store they look very interesting, and of course I picked up Darth Vader #13, but we've already talked about that. I would definitely recommend it. It's a good read, but it would have to be something where you read the entire story to really understand it. As you see, the Dark Knights, they're up on the stands, so obviously that's my #1 pick of the week. It does not mean that the other ones aren't that good. It's just that I feel that this storyline tops the rest of them. Now, this pick doesn't mean that this is going to be the most valuable, because obviously the Dark Knight's a very popular series. It's probably been overprinted between any of the comic books here, but it's just more popular. Here you have Frank Miller and I cannot pronounce that gentleman's name, but he's the other author of 100 Bullets. They're combined writing the storyline. It's a very interesting storyline. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody because if you haven't read it, it's definitely a good read. It brings back the Dark Knight Return, or Return of the Dark Knight, that Frank Miller did in 1986. It brings some storyline in there. It has Wonder Woman in it. It has the Atom in it. It has Superman in it. And it has a few new characters in it. So I would definitely recommend it as a good read. Now, the thing about this issue is it is printed quite a bit. So there's multiple covers that you can get. These two actually are the are the main covers. They have these, so even though there's two different covers, they're the main covers, they're printed about the same. And then you have a 1 in 10, a 1 in 25, a 1 in 50, a 1 in 100, a 1 in 500, and a 1 in 5,000 that I've seen come up for sale. And then you have some specialty store covers that were made. Which cover is the best? That's up to you. I like the 1 in 100 cover because that one, the artwork's done by Frank Miller. So I'm going to try to get myself a 1 in 100 cover. The 1 in 500 cover right now is going for about $300 on eBay. The 1 in 100 cover, you can get it for about $60. So yes, this is definitely the pick of the week. Thank you, and again, the next episode of Jim's Comic Cave will be featuring The Preacher. All right, thank you. I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.